Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Hugh Capital Podcast with yours truly, Jerlisa Juju Fontaine. Now, for anybody who's watching the video version of this interview, you're probably thinking, hold up, this is like the first time I've ever seen Juju wear a hat for an interview. And yes, for anybody who's thinking, like, is she wearing a hat because she doesn't want to comb her hair? Yes, that is exactly why I'm wearing a hat. Absolutely. But as long as y'all think it's still cute, I'm happy you feel that way. But yes. And to those who are listening to this and not watching the video, I will not guilt trip you if you really took a moment to go to the visual and to take a look at my hat. I think it's a cute bucket hat. Anyway, y'all know I'm extra, but today we have a very special guest. To be honest, I love the name of his brand. It's called Where is Tomi? And the creator and owner of this brand is indeed a man named Tomi. And the reason why I like the name of it is because it's just so informal and so fun and so catchy. It reminds me of this movie that I've never watched, and people are probably also going to shame me for this. I think it was called Where is Waldo? Is that right, Tommy? Have you heard of that? Is that right? Waldy, Waldo? I don't know. Wallow? I don't know. Something. But it reminds me of that. And I think it's so cute. It's so catchy. Honestly, the website is like, Where is Tomi, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Y'all have to give it a look. Like, it's adorable. Anyway, really happy to have Tomi here with us today. I think that he's going to have a lot of amazing things to share with you all. For everybody who is listening, that is either an aspiring or current travel entrepreneur, I think that you're going to find value in this one. Not because the other interviews are not valuable, but I think there's something a little bit interesting and creative about the approach of what he offers through this travel brand. But I'm not going to ruin it for you all. We'll talk about it later. So, with that being said, Tomi, I can go ahead and give everybody an intro about you, but I think you're probably better at introducing yourself than I would be. So, who are you?
All right. Well, hello everybody. Yeah, I'm Tommy. Tomi Awodiya, whatever you want to call me. But yeah, Where's Tomi is my travel brand. Um, yeah, I'm just a 27-year-old, originally from New York, moved to Delaware. Went to college, all that different stuff that normal people do. Um, and yeah, I just grew up in New York. We'll stay there until I was like 11, and had a big upbringing there. My parents are Nigerian, and I'm firstborn, first in my family, first generation over here as well. So then, yeah, we moved down to Delaware when I was like 11. And so I used to have this little saying that New York made me, but Delaware raised me, because I did do like my formative years down here. And then kind of what like turned me into who I am today is really my college years. That's like really my formative years. And they really turned me into who I am. I was actually known as like the Mixie King, because I was really just everywhere during college. I just had friends at different schools, and I was the one who didn't care if you were going to come with me or not. I had my car, so if there was a school 2 hours away and I had a couch to sleep on, I was there yesterday. So, um, so yeah, and then graduated college, and then I started traveling, and that mixiness bug kind of just evolved into my travel bug. And it kind of started making me want to just see all these different places, enjoy all these different things. And that's kind of where my brand came from in the end too. Just where's Tommy? Just being essence of being where you want to be, being where, you know, in the moment with all the people, and just enjoying life.
I honestly love that. And the part that I resonate with the most is this concept of if I had a couch to sleep on, I'm in there, right? I think
Right.
that for a lot of people, I understand the bougie living. I know we adults now, so people feel like they're beyond that. But listen, let's talk about it. College, listen, broke college student, that's a thing. And listen, if I
Look.
can go have a good time somewhere and I don't have to spend a rack, 500, whatever it is for that experience, yeah, I love a couch.
Like what?
Listen, it could be broken up and everything. Listen, I'm barely gonna sleep anyway.
Anyway,
So
anyway.
does it even matter? Like, no. I highly second that statement. And I'm not sure if you mentioned this part, but did you say where from New York you're from?
No, so I actually am from Long Island, Suffolk County. Yeah.
Awesome. And the reason why I wanted to highlight that is because for everybody listening, remember, New York is a state. It's not New York City. There
Yeah.
are other places and other cities in New York. So when someone tells you they're from New York, you don't have to assume they're from a borough. There's a whole other life and existence outside of New York City. However, what I do know about Long Island folks is they're mixy, so they're gonna find their way in the city oftentimes.
See,
Anyway,
look.
but you look at 11 years.
uh,
That wasn't your life anyway, so you're fine.
yeah, but I was still.
You still have life.
Yeah, I was 11. You know, I'm still doing something.
It's all right. I love it. I love the transparency. And another thing I want to pick on you about is, so I noticed that you went to the University of Delaware, right?
Yep.
So why didn't you go to Delaware State University?
So, all right. So, yeah, no, yeah. So my number one choice, right? I didn't want to stay in Delaware at all, at all.
Mm.
My number one choice was actually Howard University, and I actually did get accepted to Howard. So I was hyped, but they didn't give me no money. But
Yep.
in the University of Delaware gave me so much money that my parents looked at me and was like, "You can either just not go to school, or I don't know." So, yeah, I ended up going to UD. But I can say this as well, even though it wasn't my choice, I wouldn't change my college experience for anything, like for anything. And then also Del State. It's gonna sound funny, but one of my like particulars about like when I was choosing college, and I still don't like it at all now, is closed campuses. I like
Mm.
how like the University of Delaware is part of the city. It's part
Yeah.
of Newark. Like you can just drive through. I don't have to go through a gate man to see my boy that lives in this one dorm. So that was one of my things. That's my main thing. But funny enough, my whole family is now associated with Del State. My brother went there, my sister went there, my cousin went there, my other cousin is going there now,
Damn.
and my dad is professor.
Oh wow. Oh yeah. So I mean,
Yeah,
that's for accessing, I guess, proximity to DSU then.
exactly. I mean,
Yeah,
come
you're
on.
good. You're good. But I had to
I was
pick
there
at
a
you on
lot.
that one. I had to pick on you for that one. But I love that you shared that.
Yeah.
So anyway, before I get carried on and just start getting us lost or whatever, before we start talking a lot about the travel business experience, I just want you to share with people, like, what do you do for a living outside of business? Because to my understanding, you're in the world of healthcare, correct?
Yes.
Talk to me
So,
about.
my actual title is Associate Director of Program Development and Strategic Planning. It's a really, really long word for, or long title for saying that I'm helping the business grow. So it is actually as it is a family business. So funny enough, my mom started the business and I was able to get a position here. And right now, basically, I just work on expanding. What we do is take care of individuals with disabilities, and we provide different home care settings for them. So it could be an apartment, it could be a house, it could be whatever. But basically, we just want to have all those individuals living the best life they decide is for themselves. So my job is then being able to create more access in a sense. So more developments, more sites. I also work with the QA side of things. So, with all this tech boom and everything like that that's going on with a lot of people in their positions, I was trying to, integrate that into our own company. So I do a lot of, I have to self-teach myself coding in a couple different aspects so I can apply that to different business structures that we do have now. So then now we've implemented those to just make those regular daily things. And now I have the opportunity to hire my friends who are in those different types of positions or went into those different types of things, because they know way more than what I did. But I just, through those little things, I was able to set it up. Now they can maintain it and we can work together.
I love that, and I love that for multiple reasons. The first one being it's a family business, and I think that's so
Mm.
empowering and so amazing. And I think the best part about hearing you describe that part of it is you just seem so confident and proud to like know that you are helping your mom build a business that's impactful to a lot of people. And I think that's a really big deal. And then two, I'm also biased because I also work in healthcare. I work on the health technology
Mm.
side as a product manager. So also cool to meet somebody else who's in health.
So,
Hello, hello, we're here. Um, and what I also want to talk about is, do you feel like, because you're on the business side, right, of what we call
mm.
healthcare, not the clinical side. Do you feel like in any way or form, this type of work that you're doing through this company with your family has helped you basically have better business practices for your travel company?
Oh, 100%,
Yeah.
100%. Just because of how I was kind of thrown into it. I didn't have to take on a managerial role as soon as I went in, but I did have some type of supervisory responsibilities. So having just that responsibility of things in my hand, and those things that are in my hand impact somebody's paycheck,
Mm-hmm.
right? So just having that responsibility, and then understanding that aspect of using money as a tool rather than a resource. So it just kind of gave me that idea of things, because I mean, it's a lucrative business. That's why my
Yep.
mom decided to go into it. And
Yep.
then once I see everything that goes into it, it was just like, all right, even though I don't want to do healthcare, the business side of it, of seeing my mom build her own thing, of having being able to leave it to like me, or to help out other people, or like I just talked, I've had mad of my friends employed when they just needed, like, so being able to have that type of resource to myself, that's kind of what drove me to make my own business, along with my mixiness. So I just wanted to kind of merge those two things together. But I could say the job really turned me into a productivity geek, right? So
Mm.
I have different productivity apps, actually, right? It's funny enough. So I guess if we're going to talk about the people watching the visual, I have my book right here. I read this every day right now, which is the 12-week year. But this right now is my main productivity goal. But I've read this year probably like 6 or 7 different productivity books, implemented those practices into myself. But all that started with first getting those first supervisory responsibilities that I talked about at my mom's business.
First of all, I feel like we got like a couple of different things here, right? I feel like, well, one, earlier on, you really gave us insight into like what made you want to kind of start a travel business. And it's a mixture of things, right? First things first, you are Mixie King. You are Delaware's Mixie King, right? Ultimately, since college, you've been having a great time, and you realize, why would this time stop after when I graduate? Like, I can still have a
Hmm.
great time with my job, with my income, even after this. And why should I do it alone when I can do it with many? So that's the first part, right? Turning your mixiness into something that's really a community based business. But then, two, I'm sure it wasn't always a business. It was more for fun at first. And then you were
Hmm.
able to leverage your work experience with your mother to basically develop business habits or productivity habits that you felt would put you in a position to actually start or create a real profitable and or I guess structured travel business. Like, this is no longer something that it's only about fun. It's something that you were able to formalize because you have the business practices and experience to do so.
Yeah.
And then three, I mean, yeah, you're reading your books. You're looking into new resources to think about ways to better yourself personally and professionally. And that's always going to positively seep into everything that you're doing, whether it be at your job or with your business. So for everybody
Hmm.
listening, I think there's like three different things that you were able to learn there from Tomi. And I didn't even have to ask those questions. He was able to just say it himself. So shout outs to you for that.
Yeah.
But what I do want to ask before we get into the real nitty gritty of the business is, even though you were Mixie King and you did enjoy just kind of going around to different maybe states at the time, then it became countries. Is there anybody in particular that you felt like exposed you to that life of travel?
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I will say this with my chest too. So it was the St. Lucia trip that I've traveled before with my family, of course. Traveled here and there. Being Nigerian, we have family in London, so we went to London. I went to Nigeria. I went to Canada, and then I took a trip to like DR and some little things with my family. But my first like I'm my own man trip was in March of 2018. I actually went to St. Lucia with Haywire Weekend. And it was my friend Yana's, I want to say 23rd. Let's say it was her 23rd birthday, but it was whatever birthday. That was the very first trip. I kind of just went out, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to go. And that was just the catalyst for, I don't know, a lot. That year alone, I ended up taking about 8 more trips. About 3 of them were with Haywire, but then the rest of them were just because I caught that bug and I was really, really going. And then the following year, I took my first solo trip where I really didn't know anybody. So that was 2019. And then Yeah, and then 2019, 2020 is when I started my business.
I love that. And honestly, I think the part that is really exciting to me is that for anybody who is a consistent listener of this podcast, this is not the first time we're hearing a story about someone taking a trip with another travel business and realizing this is lit, but I can also start a business with this as well. And
Mm,
for Tomi, it's haywire. For the group called Winners Only Weekend, it was CDE, Colin Devon Events.
mm,
I think there's this common thing happening here where people are experiencing this and ultimately realizing I love this stuff so much that I want to turn this into a business as well. So for anybody listening, these are just so many reasons for you to go ahead and just start your travel business. There's no reason to wait. And even more of a reason for you to talk about it and do that type of work is, well, let's talk about Tomi, right? He has taken people to St. Lucia, Colombia, Bahamas, correct?
mm-hmm.
We did the Poconos, a little bit more
Yeah,
local,
we
but
did the
we're
Poconos, we did
diversifying it, right?
Tulum.
Tulum. I mean, so many
Mm,
different places. And then Tomi, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of your largest turnouts was 82 people.
yeah, so
That's a
we
big
had
deal.
the Bahamas trip. Yeah.
That's huge. Like, imagine taking 82 people to the Bahamas so that we can have a good time, learn about the culture, turn up, party, excursions, all that amazing stuff. Like, that's a big deal. But Tomi, I have a tricky question for you. Even though your largest turnout was 82, which is a big deal, what was your lowest?
My lowest, my lowest was actually two. I would say that too. My lowest was actually two people. I had two people for the Colombia trip, but we still ended up those. I expected to see them on. I know for those who can see those two people, and we had a great time. we had,
That place
boy,
says
we
it
had a
all.
time that trip. Boy, we had a time that trip.
Honestly, I love that so much though, because the reason why I asked that question is not to like embarrass you or anything of that sort, right? I think it's so important
Mm,
that we highlight when we win and we highlight when we lose. And I put quotations on lose because was that even a loss if you really genuinely had a great time with those two people and it still
no.
led to you having a journey of entrepreneurship where you had an 82-person turnout? Like humble beginnings mean so much. And this is not an experience unique to Tomi. If you all listen to Demetrius's episode, Demetrius Walker, his first trip was a flop. Like people didn't really come through. You get me? But then, long and behold, over the years and over the course of having more trips, it just grew and grew and grew. So these things are never losses. They're never failures. They're just a first time experience of trying something and seeing how it works. And even if it doesn't work, you don't stop. Can't stop, won't
No.
stop. You get me? Anywho, before I go on my rant, so I want to dive more into the actual business, right? When I think about travel business and its operations, a lot of things come to mind. There's a lot to do. But when we're talking about managing trips with over 50 plus people, the first thing that comes to my mind is how the heck are you collecting all of that money? So help me understand, how do you get money from so many people? How are you handling that?
So I'm actually using a service called Squadtrip, which when I say they saved my life, they saved my life. Um, before I was using just different payment processors, PayPal here and there, just trying to get maybe a recurring invoice here or maybe manually sending the person something. But Squadtrip actually helped out a lot. So that's how I collect my funds right now. They've helped me out with like fees. They've helped me out with legal issues as well with just the different clauses and stuff they help me put in to protect me as a business owner. And let me see what else. And just helping me build the trip because right now, even though I build a trip myself, um, being able to put out that presentation is a job in itself to just build that out. But they've made that easy for myself too.
I love that. And I think that's so cool because I think that when people think of platforms like Squadtrip, they solely think about the financial part of it and like how I asked you, right? Just collecting the money. But it's so cool
Mm-hmm.
that you can use a platform like this that helps you solve so many other business problems.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that speaks to the quality of the product. But what I also want to know is out of all those different things that you've itemized that are things that you have to worry about when it comes to your business, which one do you think is like the biggest pain in the ASS? Is it the
Mm.
legal? Is it the collecting the money? What is it?
I would say, and this might be for me, just because I make my trips completely customizable. When it comes to one side of it, if it's for like a group trip, I would say my biggest issue would be missed payments. So like I'm working on like, and they actually helped fix that really.
That's
But
great.
it was really missed payments. So and I was, especially starting out, I didn't want to be that guy charging like, all right, you missed the payment, so now you gotta give me a late fee. Oh, you missed the payment, so now you can't go on the trip. I'm the guy that's like, all right, so you're texting you on the side because now I have your number. Hey, this is Tommy. How can I help you out? How can we figure this out? But when I say that, even though it helps in the moment for some things, it doesn't help in the long run. So it really shot myself in the foot a couple times. So that it really helped me out there.
I love that. And once again, I love the transparency, right? Like I said, I mean, when it comes to entrepreneurship, a lot of people are on a tour, glamorizing it and saying all of the amazing positive things about it. And it is amazing, it is positive. But I think it's
Hmm.
very important that for those who are inspired by you and the work that you do, that they're also very much so aware of what can go wrong. What are the struggles of it? That way they feel like, okay, cool. Let me add this to the list of things that I need to be mindful of and potentially plan a solution for in case it comes up. And are you always going to be 100% prepared? No, but it's pretty good to be
No.
at least 50%, right? That's a good start.
Yeah.
And I think the good thing is that Tomi is here dropping gems on how you can be at least 50% prepared for very strange situations like missed payments and having to track down people and got to say, hey, how you been, buddy? Kind of need that. But I love that answer. That was helpful. The really awkward, like when somebody writes you, but they really write you not to see how you're doing, but because they have an ask of you,
Hmm.
that awkward,
Hmm.
but it's okay. It's
I will
necessary.
learn to make sure to put it all in one message. I used to be the person be like, "Hey, how are you?" and wait for
It's just
that
like
response.
short.
But nah, I put it all in the first message.
That's what I listen, me personally, I always tell people if you have an ask of me, don't feel like you need to water it down and be like, hey, how you been? How's the kids? I don't even have that. Like, why'd you think to ask me that? Like, just get to it. I'm here to help. What's the ask?
Hmm.
So I love that you know. Listen, y'all, Tomi gave you the rundown. If you want to ask somebody for something, just one paragraph. Hey, how you been? Long time no speak. I just want to check in with you and see how things are going. The payment's missing.
Look.
That's how you do it. Anyway, too many kikis. You guys know I can't help myself. But what I also want to know is outside of the payments and the legal and all those other things, one thing that I think that's very attractive about your travel business, Tomi, is the different services that you offer. Like you're not only taking people on your own travel experiences, but it looks like you're offering services to other people who need help planning trips. Walk us through how you determine those services and what they are.
Yeah, no problem. So, of course, first is the group trips on one side. So, me and my new team, because I just got a team this year, we started talking about different locations, and we'll go ahead and pick, where we want to go for that year and where our guests would kind of want to experience and things like that. But the other side is my travel consultations. So, and that's kind of actually in terms of my travel business, that's really where most of my revenue does come from. Just because there's more people who are going on trips throughout the year than I am throwing trips throughout the year. So, one of the things that I always want to make sure is that the person who, especially if it's a birthday, because usually it's some sort of celebration. So whoever the celebration is about, I always want to try and make sure that person is taken care of. So and I'm always transparent with that too during my consultations too. So I'll be like, hey, I hope you know, or I'm gonna make the package so that you're not paying. Your job as the person who's putting this together on the outside is just to get your group of people to pay, right? It's your birthday. Why am I making you pay for your own birthday? And that kind of mindset is where I kind of go into the different things that I include into their trips. So and they take that into account too. So I'm always, and some people of course are like, nah, I want to throw into it's a thing. So include me in the number. But I can say most of the trips I have done, they've been done that first way. So it's like, I'm going on the birthday. There's 4 people coming with me, so those 4 people are going to break up the cost in terms of where's Tomi, and I am just coming to enjoy my birthday, and I will leave enjoying my birthday. All and at the same time, we also send out. So we try to make it as much as like a group trip as possible. So you get your itinerary a couple days before the trip. Your trip, like I said, is customizable up until the point that somebody puts down their first deposit. So once that first deposit is put down, of course, we can't really change that much. But before that, hey, whatever you want to mix, match, and mingle, and if it still fits within the budget that me and you have talked about, go ahead. It's your trip. I want you to have the best time that you can have. So in terms of the services that I provide, is really a one-stop shop for travel. The only thing that I'm not really doing right now is flights, but I am working on that. So look out in the future on the Where's Tomi website. You'll be able to book flights just like any other booking website.
That was a great, thorough answer. I really appreciate that. And if you don't mind, I do have like 2 more last questions for you, but can you walk us through what is complex about including flights in travel packages?
Yeah, so the two things that there's two things really. So one is the timeline. So if you're trying to do some type of group flight, the timeline that if you speak with an airline for usually have about 60 days to book a flight from the point they give you the quote. However, when you work with groups of people trying to get a travel or a trip to go, 60 days is usually not enough to get people to pay for some type of for anything really in terms of travel. And then, so that was the first part. The second part is really, I don't like doing that as well because of the increased price. So a ticket that if I look for it myself, it would end up being what, $800. Maybe I'm going to Africa or something like that, and I find an $800 ticket. But then if I do a group flight, it ends up being $1,200. I don't want to do that to my guests. Like that's not, yeah. So if I want to do it for myself, I want to do it for you. So that's the number one thing. But like I said, with us adding it to the website, I'll be able to do it where I can book you for that 800 price that we both see at the same time.
I love that. Honestly, I never really understood the complexity behind that, but I feel like that was a pretty good answer. So now I have some insight into it. I can't say I am the expert of all things complexity and booking group flights, but it's something that I could talk about now because of you. So I appreciate that.
No
I think the
problem.
cool thing, no, I appreciate it. But I think the cool thing about this interview was we spent some time talking about your upbringing, like who you are, where you're from. Honestly, I'm inspired and empowered by the fact that you are working with your mom on this family business that is honestly catering to a very important demographic of people. I think that's a really big deal. And I'm also inspired by the fact that you were able to combine your business learnings from your mom's business with your love and pleasure for travel and just going around and having a good time and realizing like, hey, listen, where's Tomi? Where's Tomi? Like, I can have my own thing and I'm ready to put this out to the world and one, make money from it, but also really provide really inspiring and really fun experiences for other people. I think it's cool that you are able to walk us through what Squadtrip is doing for you. You walked us through how to determine how to execute on new services, right? These are all things that people are listening to right now. And they're like, oh, I can do this. It's going to be hard, but I can do this. And I think that's a really cool thing. And I really appreciate you for that. And one thing that you didn't mention, or maybe I missed it, but did you talk about the whole gamification thing?
No, I didn't actually.
So really
Yeah.
quickly, before you talk about it, for everybody listening, stop cheating. Always listen to the second episode because you're going to learn something and you don't have to listen for 30 minutes to get that insight. But Tomi's going to give you a quick snapshot on what this gamification experience is. But in the next episode, we're going to get more in depth about it and talk about why unique experiences like this are assets to a travel business. But Tomi, tell them what that is. What does it mean?
Nah, quick snapshot, like you said, real quick. Just take the Amazing Race and throw yourself in it.
Spicy. All right. Like I said, we'll talk more about it in the next episode. If that wasn't clear for you, I'll listen to the next one. Sorry. But anyway, to wrap all of this up, Tomi, there is one question that I ask every single guest on this podcast for the Travel Money series. And that question is, how can we empower this generation of rising global citizens? What do you think? Dum, dum, dum.
I actually would say encouraging more purpose behind our travel. So, and when I say encourage, it's something I actually plan on doing with Where's Tommy in the future too. Just lowering the barrier of access so that more people can see where we are. So this next generation of global citizens, they're the ones that are going to be able to bring the cultures from other places that they go to and experience them and understand, where they stand in the world, right? Where our actual point is. So just helping them understand that with more purposeful travel.
That was phenomenal. That was a really solid answer. Shout outs to you. I wish I had like a live crowd behind me, but listen, one day, y'all, listen, let's make this podcast boom so I could do something like this in person and we could really clap people like Tomi up. But that was a phenomenal answer. I think that that is something that will definitely inspire a lot of people, both those who are traveling for fun and enjoyment and also for those who have businesses surrounding those experiences. So with that being said, Tomi, like once again, thank you so much for giving us your time. You gave us some very thoughtful answers to a lot of the questions that I've had, and I have no doubt that anybody who listened to this really felt like they now have at least 50% of what they need to get started. And for those who are interested in growing, they have context into like what they should be using and doing in order to grow their travel business. So thank you so much for giving us your time. And for everybody listening, thank you all so much for listening. And see you in the next episode, y'all. Bye everyone.